What are Raila Odinga's options for 2022? Should the Building Bridges Initiative process fail to succeed at the referendum? What are his options? Because you know one thing for sure, that Raila Odinga has not declared his bid for the presidency. And he has always maintained that he's not going to talk about 2022 politics until after the Building Bridges Initiative referendum. But from all indications, there are a lot of challenges in that Building Bridges Initiative referendum. So far, the courts declared it unconstitutional, and they've appealed. And again, the religious groups are claiming that the timing of that referendum is not good for the country. But Raila Odinga will only talk about 2022 after that referendum. And we also know that President Uhuru Kenyatta, who is his partner in handshake, has also indicated that one of his key legacies would be the Building Bridges Initiative process. But Kenyans can also decide that they don't need this referendum, so they may end up voting no to that process. So assuming we are in a situation where we don't have the referendum happening, let's say the courts are going to say it's unconstitutional up to the Supreme Court level, then it will end there, or even assume that they're going to succeed at the courts, and then it's taken to the people, and the people still vote no. So it means the Building Bridges Initiative process is going to fail. Assuming it fails, what are Raila Odinga's options? So in this video today, I want us to look at the options available for Raila Odinga should the Building Bridges Initiative process fail to succeed at the referendum. But before we do that, if you're watching this channel for the first time, please take a second or two and click the subscribe button so that next time we produce a video like this, YouTube will automatically notify you. And by the way, I was in Mombasa over the weekend and I managed to meet two gentlemen from this channel. Next time I'm there, we'll have time. I'm now back right in Kisumu. Now let us get back to business. What do you think are some of the options available for Raila Odinga should the BBI fail? Because remember, the BBI is proposing an expanded executive. Prime Minister, two Deputy Prime Minister, President, and a Deputy President. So which means each and every presidential candidates were going to have several options for them to appease regions. So Raila Odinga probably had banked on these new expanded positions to place his bids upon them. But if in case the BBI is not going to happen, what are some of his options? Number one, the first option which Raila Odinga can use is to retire from politics with President Uhuru Kenyatta. I know most of his supporters will not accept this. But if BBI is going to fail, then it means two people have failed. The first individual who would have failed is President Uhuru Kenyatta. And then the next individual who is going to fail is Raila Odinga. So the two brothers are going to fail. And in case they're going to fail, it would mean that Kenyans don't have confidence in them. And if they're going to fail because the courts are going to say no, it's unconstitutional, it will also mean that these two gentlemen were trying to pursue an illegality. So in case that's going to happen, the best option would be for them to say, we are not going to continue with the leadership of this country. And therefore, Raila is going to retire, Uhuru is going to retire, and they are going to hand over to someone else, maybe to push it further, or just to forget about the presidency and the whole thing. The second thing, in my considered opinion, is that Raila Odinga and President Uhuru Kenyatta can decide to go for a compromise candidate. So they can decide, we've failed to succeed in this thing, but deep down our hearts, we believe this is the medicine our ailing country needs. And because Kenyans don't see it now, let us prepare, let us support a compromise candidate. then push this candidate outside there. And Kenyans are going to support this candidate. And once that candidate is installed in office, then the candidate can then start pursuing the Building Bridges Initiative process. But there's always a challenge. In fact, this can only happen in a situation where the BBI is actually stopped by the court. Let's say they've appealed it at the Court of Appeal, then it's knocked down, then they go to the Supreme Court, then again at the Supreme Court, it's also knocked down. So they can now go and support someone else and tell Kenyans that this is what we needed. So we are giving you a new candidate to support it, to work on it, and once that person is elected, they can restart the process again. So that's the second option, is to support a compromise candidate in 2022. Number 3, in my considered opinion, is for them to push for a parliamentary initiative. Remember, you can change the constitution of this country of ours called Kenya through 2 methods: parliamentary initiative and a popular initiative. So if the courts are saying that the process they were trying to use is actually unconstitutional because it's neither a parliamentary system nor a popular initiative, then they can let it be and now begin another process of parliamentary initiative. I'm sure in parliament they can easily get the numbers which are required to change this constitution. Once they achieve those numbers which are required to change the constitution, then ultimately they shall have achieved their objectives. And this can be done before 2022. Let's say, I don't know how long the courts can drag this case, because remember, there's also the time frame for the referendum. So which means if it will go beyond beyond August, then it can't happen. So the best option for them is to try and pursue a parliamentary option. Of course, the courts have now pronounced themselves that it can only be a popular initiative and a parliamentary. So they can use that parliamentary route to bulldoze whatever they want. There are certain clauses which everybody agrees might not really require a referendum. So they might choose some of those non-contentious issues. They can choose some of those parts which doesn't require referendum and then push them through a parliamentary initiative, and still they will achieve the same results which they wanted to achieve through a popular initiative. But the only challenge now is that Kenyans will not have a say. Like if you don't like something and you, members of parliament, are voting yes to it, then it means you won't have a say. Of course, members of parliament are also the representative of Kenyans. So that's another alternative. The fourth option, which I think is what Raila Odinga is likely to do, is to go outside there and run for the presidency with only one mission: to win. And then after winning, then Raila Odinga can then embark on those changes. Remember, Raila Odinga has fought for reforms in this country for a very long time. And because he has fought for reforms in this country for a long time, his ideas like devolution is actually working. So he can say that, let me run now myself, win this thing, then use this thing to push for more allocation of money and resources to counties, so that in 5 years, counties will really appreciate the need, why they needed additional money. Because currently, the capping, I think, is 15%. The BBI is proposing it to 35%, which means more resources are going to come to the county. And with more resources to the counties, it means even if Raila Odinga will not be the president, the people of the coastal region will no longer be marginalized. They'll have more resources right inside there. The Nyanza region, which has historically stood with Raila Odinga, will not be marginalized. And just yesterday, I was seeing a tweet from Moses, from a Facebook page, from a Facebook post from Kipchumba Murkomen, where he was really against regions receiving development because they're supporting government. He was saying that because the president is coming to Kisumu, and already several development projects are lined up. And when the president met with Nyanza leaders, he told them that he wanted some of those projects to be escalated. So we don't want a situation where you must actually be in good books with the president or whoever is ruling the country for your region to get resources. So this is what Raila Odinga is pushing for, so that we have more resources at the counties. Apart from resources, there are several other things like expanded executive, so that people don't have to go to elections. So after winning, after running and winning, then he can decide, I want to pursue this thing, and probably within 5 years, he shall have effected another referendum. People should have, shall have voted yes, and then a new constitution. And lastly, they can also decide to support someone who is reform-minded. You know, in this country, we have politicians who have never stood for anything in their entire lives. They've been leaders for so many years, but there's nothing they've ever stood for. When you talk of constitution, they've never participated in it. When you talk of clamor for multipartyism, they've never, you see, they've just been there making money here, right, and there. But in this country, again, we have people who've really fought for reforms and changes to come to this country. But some of these people have never had opportunity. Someone like Wafula Buke, someone like Oigo Wamwere, Muhisa Kitui, you know, some of these people have really fought for this country. So Raila Odinga might decide that now this thing has failed. Let me get Muhisa Kitui and push him as a reform-minded candidate, so that Kenyans will have a choice of electing him in 2022. And once that's achieved, then the hope is that with a reform-minded individuals, a lot of changes are going to happen in this country. The biggest problem and challenge we have as a country is that we are in a country where we have so few billionaires and millionaires, but so many poor people. So that gap needs someone who is radical enough to understand that the gap between the rich and the poor should actually be reduced. Are you aware that in this country, there's a cabinet minister, for example, or a senior government official, or even a chief accountant who is supposed to sign for payments of goods and services offered? These same guys have companies they are running. And these companies are doing business with the same organizations, the same government institutions they are working for. So which means these guys can easily come up with a procurement plan, call for procurement process, people apply, then they award the tenders to their companies. And once those tenders are awarded to their companies, they get money back to themselves. But someone who is reform-minded cannot allow that to happen. And I remember the guy who introduced CDF was Murue, the DP guy. That guy is being remembered for introducing CDF into this country. There are certain schools. I was coming from Mombasa and I saw a school just next to the road, and I was like, now that was in Kwale on some stretch there. I was like, really, is this a school? And those kind of schools are all over. But with the CDF, at least if you go to that, even that bad school, you'll see a building or two under CDF. So as a reform-minded individual will come up with those kind of reforms, things which change the lives of ordinary Kenyans. And Raila Odinga can decide that I'm going to support a reform-minded individual, someone who can effect things which in the long run is going to be beneficial to the common man. Thank you guys. But let me know your thoughts on this. And again, later in the day, we are going to have that segment of Gumzo Mtani. And then today, tomorrow, we're going to have a lot of activities in Nyanza here. Madaraka Day is going to be celebrated here. The president, I think, is already here or will be landing here later today. And the calendar is so tight. Several development projects lined up. We want to talk about this in the Gumzo Mtani. And then we are also going to likely to do more analysis based on how the events are going to unfold right here in Kisumu. Thank you guys, and please may you have a good day.